Welcome to this overview of situated learning. Situated learning is based on the premise human beings are social creatures, and the communal context we find ourselves in is important to effective instruction. In this theory, all learning is social in nature, and because of this, context is paramount for creating meaning. Or to put it more simply, people learn in groups by imitating the experts until they themselves become experts. In pre-industrial times, when a person desired to learn a skilled trade, they needed to study under a master as an apprentice and join a guild. Once they'd proven their skills, they would advance to become a master themselves. Learning was done in a community. Situated learning is the joining of a community of learners. Through participation in practice, a student in the community increases their level of participation. They then move from being novices to being old-timers. This is similar to the progression of cadets in a military academy. When they start out as cadet plebes with zero knowledge of what they're doing, they will eventually become the upper class who drill the plebes that they used to be. How do people teach in context of situated learning? William Clancy said of situated cognition that it, quote, claims every human thought is adapted to the environment that is situated, because what people perceive, how they conceive of the activity, and what they physically do develop together. So teaching involves understanding where the people you're teaching are coming from. In situated learning, we have to regard what you're teaching as happening in context of their experience. Take as an example a rural school, where the teacher is using a text that contains a lesson using bus schedules. You would assume that the child would have a harder time understanding a lesson because they've never had to catch the 8 a.m. crosstown to get to PS 128. Conversely, an urban student who's never been to a farm might have a similar struggle trying to understand an example involving raising livestock for the 4-H fair. How does knowledge transfer? It is important to note that in situated learning, declarative knowledge, that is what you know, and procedural knowledge, knowing how to do something, are in fact integrated. Learning happens socially when a novice learns from an expert and applies that knowledge in the real world. This means to be effective and have meaning, the knowledge is to be put to use quickly so it doesn't become inert and stagnant. Imagine if you owned a company and sent each and every employee to a training class in Microsoft PowerPoint. If there were people in your company who had no use of PowerPoint, say for example the janitor, they'd quickly forget that lesson and it would be considered ineffective instruction. For those in your company who did, however, use PowerPoint on a daily basis, that immediate use of what they learned would be applied and reinforced. They would grow in their knowledge and possibly even master the product to the point that they can train others in their own communities of practice. So in situated learning, to know something is also knowing how to do something, and this comes through application. How do students learn in this theory? There are many ways to build communities of practice in situated learning. One way is cognitive apprenticeship. Perhaps the most familiar form of this is the internship or job shadowing, learning from a subject matter expert and applying that knowledge in practice. Another way is anchored instruction. The anchor in this sense is taking a hypothetical problem scenario and finding the solution through understanding details in the story. One example of this used in math classes are the often dreaded story problems. Learning communities are yet another example of situated learning, working together to solve a common problem in participatory groups. A graduate school group project on a Blackboard wiki might be an example of this. So let's conclude this overview by looking at Wenger's 4 main points about situated learning theory. Firstly, we are social beings, and this should be central to learning. Second, knowledge is a matter of competence, and knowing is interconnected with doing. Thirdly, knowing is a matter of participating in both learning and the real world. Lastly, the ultimate goal of learning is to produce meaning. Thanks for watching.